Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. If you like The Mike Wagner Show and you want to make your own podcast, well, let me tell you about Anchor. First of all, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. You can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, and heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, including t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and more, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mian Mohsen Zia store for t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, and more. and great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles and more. Make sure you check it out today. And don't forget to support the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Also give generously on Anchor FM/support as well as PayPal. Make sure you do so today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who's one of the most famous film score writers in the world. And he grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, and enrolled at Cincinnati Music Conservatory, majoring in piano competition and piano and everything. So he began freelancing at James Brown King Records and worked as staff writer at CBS April Blackwood Music. And he also opened for the Carpenters, Frank Zappa, and a lot more, and did numerous music scores, including 10 Commandments, also Underdog, Balls of Fury, Mummy 3, Ghostbusters 2, and a lot more, and won numerous awards, including BMI's highest honor, and also had a big chopper in '05. We'll talk more about that. And of course, he's got a song that's coming out as well, too, and we'll discuss that. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful Beverly Hills, California, the amazing and award-winning, very multi-talented, and I love all his films, Randy Edelman. Randy, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Mike. Nice to be here with you.
Well, it's great to be with you as well, too. And I mean, you've got some amazing stuff out there, and the movies that you've done as well musically. My boys happen to watch them and they love it, I'll tell you. So,
well,
of course, one of the most famous film score writers in the world. And you grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, enrolled in Cincinnati Music Conservatory, and you also began freelancing at James Brown's King Records, and you also worked as a staff writer at CBS, and you also, opened for the Carpenters, Frank Zappa, and more, and numerous of, music scores for various movies out there, and very recognizable. And you also had a big chart topper in '05, hit #1, and you got a new song out that's all called Comin.
What did you just say? What hit #1?
It was a big chart topper in '05. So this is on the website, by the way. It's RandyEdelman.com.
'05. What? Well, I don't know what that is. I'm gonna hold you to what you say.
Well, I'm going by what the website is. So do you want me to just take a look here? So
I've had a lot of vacations, but something called '05. Don't know what that is. Must be a misplay. Who is the artist?
Okay, it's Nelly's My Place, #1.
Oh, My Place. Okay, there you go. Where did '05 come from?
Oh, well, you know something. Let me take a look here.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Since we're not live, so you'll just it's My Place by Nelly.
Okay, we got that. Okay,
you got it, baby. Weekend in New England by Barry Manilow. These are the real facts. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. Of course, you can't forget about that one. I mean, you got so much out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. And the movies you mentioned, I did. There's a lot more. Anyway, good to be here with you. I just want you to know, baby, check those facts. Okay.
We certainly do some. Before we get into all that, tell us how you first got started. Tell us how you first got started. Going the Wayback Machine.
Oh boy. Well, it's I got started. I was a child concert pianist, and then it's a long story. I won't tell you how I got to Cincinnati from New Jersey. Started doing different kinds of things there at King Records, which was James Brown's studio. Crazy thing for a classical musician. But when I got out of there, I went sort of back home because I was from New Jersey, from Teaneck, right across the George Washington Bridge from New York. And I got started taking my stuff around and playing on Broadway. And, this is, I don't know how much time you got. I get into any one of these areas and go on for a long time. So that was the beginning. I was playing on Broadway as a kid. I was starting to write songs because I never even thought about being a songwriter or an artist or film scores. I was basically a serious classical musician. But, that what was happening at the time, if you'll remember, I think you're young enough to remember or old enough to remember. In the 70s, there was a big thing that started. The music business changed. It changed in the way people selling records, they were no longer the days where a music publisher took a song to a record producer who worked at a record label, and then the record producer took it to an artist that they were producing, whether it was Frank Sinatra or anybody else. that's the way it was done. And then obviously, as you know, people started writing their own songs. It doesn't matter if it was the Beatles or Bob Dylan or Elton John or James Taylor. The people who were selling records was a new kind of thing. They weren't the people recording outside songs. So to make a long story short, if you could carry a tune and write a decent melody in the 70s, you could get a record deal. Now, I don't really mean it like that, but I'm over exaggerating, but you understand. Mm-hmm. So I started hearing all these pop albums that I really liked, even though I wasn't a pop music person. And I went out and got myself a record deal. So I'm leaving a lot out, but it happened very quickly. And I had never sung before, but if you do your own material, you don't have to be able to sing. Think of the greatest people, artists in the world. They don't necessarily have great voices, but they have a certain style that fits their material. So that's what I did. And of course, when you make an album, all you did, especially when you're a young kid, I was 20 years old or something, you want it the next day to sell 1 million copies. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen. But at the time, there was these two young kids who were completely outside what was happening in the music business. And they were brother and sister named Karen and Richard Carpenter. And another long story, I won't get into it. They heard my album, and Richard, the brother, who was a great pianist and arranger, they really associated with what I was doing. And they not only recorded some of the songs, but they took me out on tour as their opening act. Now you have to understand, this isn't like a concert like in Carnegie Hall or something. These are big concerts in field houses, 15,000 people. That's how hot they were. So here I was, this kid that never played anywhere or did anything, opening for the Carpenters. So that was my start, realizing like, hey, this could be happening. At the same time, I was conducting for a lot of singers because I had that background. And so I was doing a lot of different things when I was a kid, doing my own albums, conducting for singers. And that went on, for a while. And I got interested in film composing, not because of the music necessarily, but I was intrigued because I saw a scoring session when I came out here to California, when I was conducting in Las Vegas. And I was interested in how they matched the music to the picture. That may sound odd. Instead of me saying, oh, I was so interested in the musically, and there were great people doing it. What I was interested in was like, how do they do it? And of course, in those days, there were no computers like we have now. Like here, I can lock to a picture. There was something called a click track. Anyway, it was a whole involved thing, which I learned about and got interested in doing music for films. I did a few TV things, and the first Kennedy assassination picture, which was a great picture that people haven't seen, really, called Executive Action. They pulled it out of the theaters because it was based on a book called Mark Lane's Rush to Judgment. And basically, it was too close to the truth. Ooh. So, yeah. Anyway, and I also learned, Mike, that writing for film was hard effing work. It was pressured. You were under the gun. I was a kid. And what I decided after I did a couple of things, after going to Russia with George Cukor to do the first Russian-American co-production called The Bluebird, which was a disaster, I decided, you know what? I'm going to stick with this songwriting thing because it was easier. It was, so I didn't continue on with the film thing. So I did that. And then eventually a lot of people recorded my songs. Olivia Newton-John, Patti LaBelle, Barry Manilow, the Carpenters. And I had done about 4 albums, and suddenly the albums started selling in in London, in England. That's sort of crazy because it didn't really make much sense. They speak English. It's not like I was anyway. So my life kind of changed. I went to England, did a lot of concerts, and spent time over there. Recorded for Elton John's label, Rocket Records. So that what I'm saying is, in the period before I was 28 years old, I had done a lot of albums. People were doing my songs, but I hadn't had that like breakout success as an artist. But I was fine. And what happened is I also had this musical background that I told you about as a classical musician and a conservatory graduate. And I wanted to do more things than just write the big 3-minute commercial hit. And luckily, I had put myself in a position to do it. And I made the decision to get into other things. Even though I continued the albums and songs for a while, that's when I started doing the scoring thing. But you can't do the films that I started doing. You just don't snap your fingers and say, I want to be a film composer. It takes years and years, and you got to make the right connections and get a bit lucky. I did a series called MacGyver. MacGyver became a big series. I wrote the theme to that.
I remember watching it.
The original. Yeah. I mean, it was, and people thought that when we did the pilot, they didn't like it. It wouldn't go, but the network picked it up and it ended up going for 1 million years. So I did it for a short time. And then funnily enough, you had to write a ton of music and you literally had to write it overnight because MacGyver was an action show. They wanted the music to be like Raiders of the Lost Ark every week. And I got kind of overwhelmed and literally said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going back to songwriting. Okay. Well, life is crazy. Within 2 years, I was the busiest and hottest film composer in the world. So what happened? There was a little picture that I did. The producer of the picture, I never even met him. His name was Ivan Reitman. Now, you know who Ivan Reitman is. He produced Animal House. He directed Ghostbusters, Meatball Stripes, all those things. He was doing a huge concept picture with two of the hottest actors at the time. One was a little funny guy named Danny DeVito, and the other was a big, strong guy named Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they brought me in they decided after they hired another great composer that they wanted Danny DeVito. Are we okay, me telling you this stuff?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because you won't hear. I'm going to tell you stuff you're not going to hear. Okay.
Oh, I love this.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So,
yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so they decided, like when you make a picture, I'm sure you understand, it's especially a big picture, a Hollywood star-driven, there is so much going on, politics, and a lot of these pictures, even ones you wouldn't consider are very good, have been around for years. You may say that picture's a silly picture, but it could be around 20 years. Somebody was supposed to star in it. The studio didn't like the script. It went to a different studio. So shit happens. On this picture, they decided they wanted Danny DeVito's character to kind of have his own feel. And the great composer who they hired wasn't in that. They didn't think he was going to do that style.
Right.
Anyway, so I get brought in after. You got to understand, I wasn't a kid anymore. I had done 1 million things, but I wasn't, a top Hollywood film composer. And so they brought me in to write a couple of cues. A cue in a movie is every time a new piece of music starts, it starts here, it ends there. It's called a cue. In a movie, there's like 50, 60 music cues. So I did that. And they liked it. There wasn't a lot of time. At the time, that picture, everywhere you looked, you saw Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger and twins.
Oh, yes. I love twins. That was great. Okay. I showed it to my boys and they loved it.
All right. Well, okay. So see, these are the kinds of things that when shit happens in your life and your career, you got to do things, there's got to be like a spark. Now, was I a funny guy? Was my music funny? No, so I did that. And what happened is they loved what I did. And bit by bit, because it wasn't like, oh, you have a few months to write this. I had a few days or weeks.
Whoa.
They wanted more. Oh yeah, no time. Just like Last of the Mohegans, I had no time. That's another story. I'll tell you about that. Completely different.
That's funny. You know something? If I do happen to have you back, or if you're allowed to, it's like, feel free to talk about Last of the Mohegans. Maybe we can break into 2 parts. So I'm loving this already.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm only going to mention things there. I can make lots of things. I'm only mentioning sort of points that you'll get a feeling about someone who's had a complete unique history in this business as I have. So anyway, it ended up that I ended up writing so much music for Twins that they had to give me half credit with the other composer. Now, that's never done. Okay.
Half credit.
On a big picture. Now you've seen it lately. You know, the next picture it was done with? Last of the Mohegans. Completely other kind of music, but I'll get into that later. Okay. So I'll move fast forward. So after I did Twins, I had a relationship with Ivan Reitman. Suddenly he calls me, and what is he working on? The sequel to the biggest comedy movie of all time called Ghostbusters. Now, when they make a movie like that and they want to do a sequel, most of the time, in my experience, it's never done, because all the people who were in it, a movie made for not much of a budget, they all want a fortune. Mm-hmm. And consequently, with Ghostbusters, now I wasn't involved with it at that time. It took them 5 years to get it together. It was a great sequel, the same stars, the same writer, the same director. So it was a big time sequel, not some little thing. And that's why it took so long. And luckily, there I was. I had just done Twins. So anyway, I did Ghostbusters 2, the soundtrack of which is coming out by Sony Classical in 3 weeks. And you're going to say, what? It's 30 years later. I won't get into that story now. But that's fine. I did the movie. It was a huge hit. It was great for me because it was my first really huge score. So I have this relationship with Ivan Reitman. Next, he does Kindergarten Cop, another concept picture with Arnold. So I did all those things. Suddenly, I'm like doing these big time Hollywood pictures. But even at the time, what happens, especially with my musical background, it was like, believe me, I appreciated it. It was unreal, but I wanted to do other stuff, other kinds of films. And because it ended up, after all those, I did classics, little ones, The Mask with Jim Carrey.
I remember that, yes.
My Cousin Vinny. Okay.
Classic, yes.
While You Were Sleeping, a sweet picture with Sandra Bullock.
Oh my
so
gosh,
I was so what happened, Mike, was suddenly I was like the comedy king. So I had to make an effort, which you can't, just like I said, you can't snap your fingers and after you've written songs and said, I want to be a film composer. It doesn't work like that. You have to kind of, there has to be something along the road, a combination of ambition, great talent, you can't, and a little bit of something called luck, as you know. So, though I should have considered myself at that time, I was flying because I was doing this great work. I made a decision to look for other things. But unfortunately, because these pictures I had done were so big, it was that comedy thing was hard to beat down. So after doing a picture with the best director in the world, an English director named Alan Parker, he passed away a few months ago, I think. He had made everything from Midnight Express
I remember that.
to Fame to Mississippi Burning. Every picture he did was different, and he was brilliant. My wife and I, if he did a picture, at that time we used to run down to the theater. We didn't care what it was about. Anyway, I did a picture for him, and there were two things that happened from doing that picture. A lot of the music from that picture, that was my first real soundtrack album. It was used for open the Super Bowl, close the Olympics. If you heard it, you'd say, I know that music, but you wouldn't have known exactly what it was. Right. And that led to two projects, quote, let's call them serious. One, there was a guy named Ted Turner. I always thought Ted Turner, when I heard about this guy who lived on a cot for 20 years in his office, trying to convince people to start a 24-hour news station, called CNN. He couldn't get it going. And he also won the America's Cup. So I knew a little about him. I also knew what he was a freak for was the Civil War. That was his thing. He was from the South. And he had done a project called Gettysburg. That was his first project. Now it was the first project for something he started called TNT. It was going to be an offshoot of CNN that would make original programming. Well, at the time you would say, oh, come on. The studios out in Hollywood have a hard time. He's going to make this 10-hour epic Gettysburg. Well, of course he did. And they called me about doing it. I went out and met him. That's a whole show. Great guy.
That'll be for another time. It's okay.
It was a very small budget, even though it was Ted Turner. It was a TV miniseries. It wasn't a big time Hollywood picture, but this guy was so great and enthused. It's like I wasn't going to walk out of there and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this because ABC. So I did Gettysburg, and then that music was heard, and a very, very talented, tough guy, tough mother named Michael Mann was doing a film called Last of the Mohegans.
Oh, yes.
That was the connection. Now, but Last of the Mohegans, funnily enough, had hired a Scottish composer. No? So it was odd. It was like I got into these situations, not a lot, twice, but they were big films. So I was brought in. Same thing happened as what happened with Twins. I suddenly ended up doing a lot of the music. And the big thing, not only that film was over budget, there was no star in it. Even you'll say, hold it. That was Daniel Day-Lewis, and he had won an Oscar for My Left Foot. Yeah, but My Left Foot, no one had ever seen a commercial movie that he was in or anybody else in that movie. You know what I mean? And so in Hollywood, it was a period picture. It was long, and they didn't have a star in it that had sold tickets. This is just what happens. So when I went into it, it was sort of considered a disaster. Anyway, I did my thing. It worked out great. And to tell you how it was thought of, they were just glad to get it done. And when I got done with it and told them, you know what, I think there should be a soundtrack of the music. And they said, no, there's no hit song. There's no. I said, I'm telling you, just like with Gettysburg, there was I think you should do it. So in one afternoon, I went into my studio in Hollywood, and I took the other guy's part and my part, and we did this monster called the CD of Last of the Mohegans. Wow. The important thing was the picture came out and did fantastically, but the music right away, it's one of the biggest soundtracks. This is not a soundtrack with hit songs, or there are no songs. So that was a big deal. And then from there, blah, blah, blah. I suddenly, after that, yes, I was in the Hollywood film scoring community, not just as a funny, ha-ha comedy guy. Although I did, Adam Sandler called me up, said, you got to do my first film. I said, I'm not going to do your film. It was called Billy Madison. Thank God I did that film, because all these films, whether it's My Cousin Vinny, or Billy Madison or The Mask or While You're Sleeping. These things are shown 50 times a day in every country on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So those kinds of things, because people want to see them. So because of the setup for composers, I'm not going to get into it specifically, they're lasting. They go on forever. They're better than hit songs or hit records, writing a score, because of what happened with cable television all over the world, who needed content. What did they want? They wanted films, score, Hollywood pictures to show. And so that's that, then I can go on and on if you want, but I just gave you a little bit of quick background as to how I got into this. It wasn't a plan at all, but there have to be those things and you have to be ready for it. You can't score films in Hollywood if musically you're not brilliant, because you got to do it fast and it has to be on the money, right? If you're too slow and you take too long, that's no good. And if you're fast and the music isn't right, you know what I'm saying? You got to be fast and right on the money with your whatever emotion your music brings to a director's vision. So
wow,
that's the.
Woo.
And then it goes on from there.
I learned a lot from you already, believe it or not.
That's and all the directors, it's like they come over here. They're all different. Every guy, one guy has no background. He's a novelist. You say, why is he directing? Because he wrote the book this thing is based on. Has he ever directed before? No. Then another guy makes music videos. Then another guy, may have a background in theater. They're all different. Every one of them is, you can't really generalize. The only thing is they think they know. And of course, they don't.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's exactly. Yeah. And of course, we'll get to part about going from Teaneck, New Jersey to Cincinnati. And of course, we'll cover Thief Fiends before we get to your song. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and evil evidence endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play, and more. Also, take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show merchandise, including these here at the Mike Wagner Show podcast on Amazon. And for more great gift ideas, including t-shirts, hoodies, pop sockets, and more, and great books by Mia Molson-Zia, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mia Molson-Zia store. And don't forget to support us on Anchor FM, PayPal, as well as the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you donate today. We're here with the terrific gentleman, Randy Edelman, on the Mike Wagner Show, just going over, his great stories, like with all the movies, the music, the composers he's worked with, and being from Teaneck, New Jersey. Tell us about your journey going from Teaneck over to Cincinnati and joining the music conservatory.
I never heard of a music conservatory in Cincinnati. It's a long story. My parents wanted me to be like a dentist,
Really?
Of course, all good Jewish kids from New Jersey. You got to be a lawyer or a doctor, but dentist is a bit easier because you don't get called late. Anyway, I didn't come from a show business family or anybody that had a background in music, but eventually I went out to the University of Cincinnati, where I was in like pre-med, and wow. I studied at the music conservatory. And very shortly after I got out there, I switched over, and I wanted to, I saw a girl I liked who was a lead singer in a rock and roll band. That's always about a girl, right? Yeah.
Always.
And so
and of course,
yeah.
a lot
So
of your music scores
she-
are like that.
yeah. So I didn't know what to say to her. So I said, oh, I'm a songwriter. Well, I had never written a song in my life. So I wrote her a song, spent like a few bucks of money I really didn't have, and took some kids into the school, from the school into this little studio in a garbage dump in Cincinnati called King Records.
Oh, wow.
And who was the main guy? Bobby Blue Bland, James Brown. And James Brown happened to be there. It's crazy that day. And he saw this kid conducting these violin players for song. And they called me up to start doing some arrangements. Making it very short. Anyway, I loved Cincinnati, even though it was so different than New Jersey, but it was a great cultural city. And I ended up writing for the theater there, and I stayed there for those 4 years. And when I got out, I had a briefcase full of crap, my music that I'd done, that I had written for all kinds of things. And, then I went back to New York and, schlepped to door to door with the stuff. And pretty quickly, I must say, I was fortunate, started doing a million things, signed my name to a record contract, 50-page, 5-year contract, no lawyer, no money, no nothing. But I said to myself, you know what, you're going to do this thing. Nothing's going to happen. What do you got to lose? That's always been my attitude, do something. Don't worry about the specifics. If you love it, if you don't love what you're doing, then it doesn't matter.
Exactly. You also worked for CBS Ibber Blackwood Music.
Well, that was my little.
Oh, that was okay. All right.
Yeah. Oh no, that was These things are like momentary. They're all there. Yeah, I worked with a guy. My boss was a guy named Tony Orlando.
Oh yes, I heard.
He was a music publisher.
Yes.
This is before he had that group. Great guy. Who was those kinds of people, very enthusiastic about my talent. And heard some of that stuff in Cincinnati and signed me to be a staff writer for $50 a week. That was it. And that's when I started there.
Wow.
And then I quickly got a job playing on Broadway and conducting and then very shortly thereafter with all that, that new kind of pop stuff with everybody writing their own songs. It was the music business took on a different direction. The odd people were the straight kind of artists who recorded outside material. The main line, 90% of the records being sold were by, like I said, Bob Dylan, the Beatles, the Eagles, James Taylor, karaoke, Elton John. They wrote their own stuff. So I quickly said, you know what? Since I kind of like what I'm hearing, I'm going to try it. I can do that. And I just went in and did it. And, it's funny because you don't know where things are going. But so there was a whole period in the beginning, at least 10 years, that I just did basically my own albums and recorded my own songs and went to England. And this was all before the, quote, serious film scoring stuff. And the scoring stuff I told you about the comedies, then I told you about kind of the serious historic stuff like Gettysburg, Waukegan. But then I did the Bruce Lee story, Dragon, which was a great picture. And that started me doing all these Asian themed films. I did Bruce Lee story. Then I did Jackie Chan's film, Shanghai Noon, and his next one, Shanghai Nights. Then I did The Quest with Van Damme. I did a lot of that. And then I did a lot of big action pictures with Rob Cohn, who directed the first Fast and Furious. And I did Triple X with him with Vin Diesel. And I did the Mummy, the third Mummy, and a film called Dragonheart and Daylight with Stallone. So there was suddenly all different kinds of stuff I was doing.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is amazing. And of course, don't forget Underdog, our kids' favorite.
Oh, Underdog. Well, what?
Underdog.
I know, but I thought, people, I'll never forget when I went to the premiere of that in New York. They thought it was a little cynical.
Really?
Yeah, you know why? Because of our friend Peter Dinklage, from the great series Games of Thrones,
yeah, Game of Thrones. That's it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Mhm.
Well, he was the star, and he played the bad guy. Remember, with the dogs, he was experimenting on them, and he was great. He gave the whole thing a very kind of a sinister feeling, and I'll never forget going to New York for that premiere. And I thought that was going to be a huge hit that summer, and it wasn't. But the people I knew there said, like, boy, it's so dark. And of course, you didn't think that was going to be dark. You thought it was going to be like the rest of the dog movies I did. I did all the Beethoven films.
Mhm.
Beethoven 1 about the St. Bernard, Beethoven 1 and Beethoven 2, produced by Ivan Reitman.
Mhm.
And there was a great dog in The Mask with Jim Carrey. So I
Oh,
did
yeah.
a lot of doggy stuff. And
Mhm.
that's, so now now you've heard all this stuff, and I'll bring you on to the reason that we are meeting here really after I did all the stuff, and now we're locked up for this past year. I wouldn't really consider myself sitting back in my place. I wish you could see where I'm sitting. But I'm
What?
not exactly locked up.
We know something. If this was done on radio, it's like we can have an imagination fest. But
Okay.
thank God for Zoom in a
Yeah,
sense.
but I'm not gonna zoom outside now.
No, don't worry about it.
Cool side, so to speak. Okay. So I did many different things this year here that luckily I could do here because I have my own studio here. But one of the things is, after all these years that I told you I got away from songwriting, because songwriting and film scoring are two different animals. You know what I mean? They're not anything. They just don't compute similarities. I started fooling around with a few songs, because when I started scoring films, people would say, "Hey, you're a great songwriter. All these people did your stuff. How come you don't write a song based on one of your themes for the films you do?" And I could explain it. That's not my job. A director, the last thing a director wants to do is come over here and I play him a song. He needs me to help him make each of those cues for each of those scenes work emotionally. That's not songwriting. There is no songwriting anymore for songs. Any songs you hear in films now, 99%, are finished records that they've picked after the film is done, that they're trying to use to sell it. Yeah, well, you know that. Yeah. When was the last time you heard something like Moon River from Breakfast at Tiffany's, or you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
They use finished records. Anyway, so I started doing different stuff here, and I woke up one night literally in my bed, and I got this idea. It was like the chorus of something, a very pop rock, hip, tuneful song. And then I came out the next day and I worked on it, and I ended up doing the whole thing in my backyard, and then some other people. And lo and behold, everybody, when I played it for anybody, they really liked it, and it's coming out like next week.
Wow.
And yeah, it's called Comin Out The Other Side. And it's just it's like I said, a pop, hooky, commercial thing, just about, hey, we've been locked up in our house. We're going to get out, and we're going to do this and that. And we're going to, and that's what it is. And I wish you could play it now, but you don't have it. And that's not what you do.
Well, you know something too? We can do it, the audio version of it, because thank God for Zoom. There's a video version, there's an audio version. If you guys want to send it, we can play the audio version.
Yeah.
And
Right.
course,
I'll have them send you the master. It's coming out. Yeah. And like I said, it's about 3 or 4 minutes, and it's just me. It's like I'm a group, Randy and the Rockets,
Randy
it sounds like a group.
I like that.
Yeah, there's nobody, you could be in the group, so it's just, the group is me. And but I'm enthused about it, and it's really it's cool. Like I said, it's completely diametrically opposed to all this, quote, big orchestral serious stuff that I've been doing all these years.
And of course, that's what you're born to do as well, too. And then where can we find Coming Out the Other Side after it's released? Where can we find the song at?
Well, I don't have it's Tribeca Records. I'll get you. Yeah, you could. Well, record business is a little different now. It's no longer the radio. You go to the record store. There's no record store. You could get it anywhere. Spotify. However it's done with the social media, it'll be there. And I'll send you. I'll have. Eileen. Do you know Eileen?
Right. Yeah, yes, that's right.
I'll have Eileen send that.
Okay, sounds good. We'll do so, and we'll talk about what's coming up for Randy Edelman and more. We'll find out in just a minute. You're listening to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's Year of Missing, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. We'll be back with the amazing composer Randy Edelman after this timeout.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionsea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, where The Mike Wagner Show interviews great guests, cool conversation, lots of laughs, coffee, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
We're back with composer, musician, singer, songwriter, and very, very one of the most famous film scorers in the world on The Mike Wagner Show, Randy Edelman. And we just talked about Coming Out the Other Side, and a lot of great stories. And of course, I'd like to have you back on for part 2. You want to talk more about Last of Mohicans and everything else, and just a lot of great stories. And what can we expect from you in 2021, Randy?
Well, I have a musical I've been working on. A historical musical. It sounds funny. It's about the construction of the kind of like the biggest project in the early 1900s. It was like going to the moon. And what that was connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans.
Wow.
It's called the Panama Canal. I don't know if you know anything about the Panama Canal or the history of the building of it. It's just the most unreal story that you've ever heard. And of course, the hero of that was Teddy Roosevelt, who became president after McKinley was assassinated, and a yellow fever doctor named William Gorgas, who, without his finding out exactly how these tropical diseases, malaria, yellow fever, could be cured or prevented, is a better word. They could have never built that canal and come up with the physical way, even though it was only maybe 50 miles, like a third the length of the Suez Canal. There were problems, and it's a long 60, 70 year story, and it may sound boy, that's an odd subject for a musical. But the fact is, it's a great emotional thing with all these characters in it. So that's one thing. I think I told you that Sony Classical is releasing in a couple of weeks the Ghostbusters 2 score, that's a whole story in itself. It was never released before, but now it's coming out. There's a new Ghostbusters movie called Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is coming out in a few months. Ivan Sun directed it.
Okay.
That's coming out. Then I have the single coming out, and I always have stuff going on.
And that's very good too. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Oh, biggest influence. You know what? Biggest influence in my career was not one person. It was many, many, many different talented musical giants. Whether they go back to the old classical composers, whether it's the Bach or Beethoven or Brahms, or the newer people like Stravinsky and Debussy, but also people like Leonard Bernstein and some of the Bernard Herrmann, great Hollywood film composers, and that music and those composers are the people that inspired me, and not particularly one style. Even though at the beginning I was more into classical music, but it was really everybody, as well as pop people. Look at Burt Bacharach. That's an original guy. Original melodies.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Look at those
favorites.
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Look at those melodies. And just a bunch of people. But that's really, it's not one. It's just, and when I say they inspired me, I heard stuff that really turned me on, and I just had that feeling. And that's that same feeling you have to have if you're writing music for films, where you look at an image somebody has made, be it drama or action film or a comedy or a romantic piece, and you've got to have a certain feeling for what you're looking at. And if you don't have that feeling or a feeling, you never can write music for films. You can be a great musician, but not be able to do that. You have to have that gut kind of, just like if you don't have that, you don't have to be a great musician to be a great songwriter. You have to have a certain soul and heart for it, So it's just sort of the same thing.
Exactly. We know what you mean. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Anybody at this point, you mean about what? Doing what I do?
Anything.
Do something. Find something you love that you're passionate about. It could be anything, and focus on that. And if and that's what I always tell people, whether it's people that want to get into the music business or anything else. That's usually what I find. People that don't do that, it generally seems that they're not spending their lives doing something that they love. Now, that doesn't always have to mean that's how you make your living, but there's got to be something. Usually it is, but a lot of times it's not. But you have to have that passion. You can do something, and if you love being in the outdoors, and you have certain things you love, and you can get away 2-3 times a week on the weekends, well, maybe that evens things out. It's just, but as far as somebody devoting their life to something, do something that you, without thinking too much about the outcome, or if you can make a lot of money, or that's nothing. First, get proficient at something and really love what you're doing, and it gives you a shot, and never look at the odds,
right? And I think that's very important as well, too. Once again, composer, songwriter, and one of the finest film scorers in the world, Randy Edelman, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Randy, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Definitely looking forward to having you back and cover part 2 and everything. Looking forward to having you soon. Make sure you keep stuff up to date. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people check out your latest?
Okay, great, Mike. Thank you. It's been a blast.
And once again, tell everybody the website and where can they purchase or check out Coming Out the Other Side.
That's going to be at Tribeca Records, and I'm going to send you I'll have her send you the record, the audio, and she'll send you all the info. My website is just Randy Edelman at www.com.
That sounds good. Randy, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on 2021 very soon. And don't forget to keep in touch. You've been absolutely terrific.
Thanks, Mike. Take care of yourself.
You wake up with a smile on your face, 'cause today you can run from your place. You've been locked in your house all year long, but today you begin a new song. You've been pushed from your purpose in life and been scared by the edge of a knife. Now it's time to fight back and break out. Time to see what this life's all about. And just take a good look all around you. Let your heart be filled with pride. Grab your coat and take your belongings. You're coming out the other side. There's a new kind of spring in your step and a fresh attitude you've got ahead, and a new spirit's filling your space, and a confidence that's your new base. So just take a good look all around you and let your heart fill up with pride. Grab your hat, put your best suit on. You're coming out the other side. You can look at the scene all around you. There's a mountain to climb if you dare. Just take hold and stand firm. Make a difference and learn. Set a course, it can lead anywhere. So go and take a walk on the street where you live. 'Cause there's more in your tank you can give. There's a friend who needs help over there. So extend your good arm, show you care, and just take a good look all around you and let your heart fill up with pride. Grab your coat and all your belongings. Hey, you're coming out the other side. You're coming out the other side. Here we go! Hey!
everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.